This camera made me question everything I thought I knew. I've been reviewing cameras for over 4 years. I've tested cheap ones, expensive ones, even flagship devices like the DJI Pocket series. So when I picked up the Insta360 LUNA Mini, I'd expect anything special. I thought, okay, just another budget gimbal camera. I was wrong, because this $299 device just did something that my $500 DJI Pocket 4 has never managed to do, not even once. And I don't say that lightly. In the next 60 seconds, I'm gonna show you exactly what changed my mind and why I can't stop thinking about it. But first, don't blink, watch this. No editing, no stabilization in post, no AI enhancement, no tricks. This is straight out of the camera. And if what you're about to see looks unreal, then we need to talk about what just changed in the camera industry. Because something here is not normal anymore. I still remember the exact moment I stopped trusting what I thought I knew about camera gear. I was in a normal testing setup. Nothing fancy. No studio lights, no controlled environment, just a regular street scene, moving people, unpredictable lighting, real-world chaos. The kind of place where most budget cameras immediately fall apart. My plan was simple: run a quick comparison. DJI Pocket 4 on one hand, Insta360 LUNA Mini on the other. Same movement, same walk, same shot. I expected the usual result. DJI would be smoother, cleaner, more professional, and the LUNA Mini would probably struggle a bit, maybe a few jitters, maybe softer stabilization. That's what logic told me. But cameras don't always follow logic. I pressed record and started walking. At first, everything felt normal. The DJI Pocket 4 was doing what it always does: smooth, predictable, almost too perfect, like it was designed not to fail. Then I checked the LUNA Mini footage, and that's when something felt off. Not bad off, not broken off, different off. Because instead of showing the usual micro shakes and motion blur I expected from a budget device, it was holding the frame like it had no fear of movement at all. I sped up, walked faster, turned corners, stopped abruptly. Still, it stayed locked. No awkward correction, no weird warping, no budget camera struggle moments. And that's when my brain did something I didn't expect. It stopped comparing specs and started questioning reality. Because the LUNA Mini wasn't just doing well for its price, it was behaving like something it shouldn't be capable of. I've seen stabilization systems for years. I know how they usually fail, I know their limits. But this didn't follow those rules. So I did something I don't normally do during testing. I pushed it harder. I deliberately made the shot unstable. Sharp turns, fast movement, uneven walking, sudden stops. The kind of movement that exposes every weakness in cheap gimbals. And still, the footage came out shockingly clean, almost too clean. At one point, I actually paused and looked at the screen again because I thought something had been processed in real time, but there was nothing. No edits, no post-stabilization, no hidden AI trick running after a capture, just raw footage. And that's when the uncomfortable thought hit me. If this is what a $299 camera can do now, what does that mean for everything else I've been recommending? Because suddenly the gap between budget and premium didn't feel like a gap anymore. It felt like a line that just got blurred without anyone announcing it. And I wasn't ready for that realization yet, not even close. After that first test, I did what any reviewer would do. I didn't trust it. Because one good shot can be luck. One clean moment can be coincidence. But consistency, that's where real cameras reveal themselves. So I reset everything. Same location, same lighting, same movement pattern. But this time, I made one change. I slowed down my expectations and started looking for flaws, because I wanted to catch the Insta360 LUNA Mini slipping. And I started with the obvious benchmark, the DJI Pocket 4. Now let me be clear, I've used DJI devices for years, and there's a reason they dominate this space. They don't just stabilize footage, they erase motion, they make walking feel like floating. They make handheld shots look like a dolly rig. So I thought, okay, this is where reality comes back. I hit record. Same path again. But this time, I paid attention to everything the first test didn't let me notice. The micro shakes, the motion transitions, the corners, the sudden stops. And yes, the DJI Pocket 4 did exactly what it's known for. Smooth, controlled, predictable, almost perfect. But there was something I didn't expect. It didn't feel like it was adapting. It felt like it was correcting. Every movement I made, the camera wasn't flowing with me. It was constantly adjusting after me. Like a system trying to fix motion instead of naturally absorbing it. And I didn't think much of it at first, because technically, the result was still clean. But then I switched back to the Insta360 LUNA Mini. And that's where the comparison stopped feeling normal. Because instead of correcting my movement, the LUNA Mini felt like it was accepting it, not fighting it, not reacting late. Just staying locked like the motion was already understood before it even happened. I walked the same path again, same speed, same turns. But this time I paid attention to something very specific, the transition moments. Because that's where most cameras break. And yet, no lag, no catch up, no sudden stabilization snaps, just continuous flow. And I remember stopping for a second mid-test and thinking, why does the cheaper camera feel more natural than the premium one? Because the DJI Pocket 4 was flawless on paper, but the LUNA Mini was starting to feel invisible in real life. And that's a dangerous thing for any established product. Because once a cheaper device starts feeling more effortless, people stop caring about specs. They start trusting experience. So I did one more thing. I deliberately introduced chaos. Fast walking, sudden turns, unexpected direction changes, one-hand shaky grip, even slight running motion, the kind of movement that usually exposes every weakness in stabilization systems. And I expected DJI to still dominate. But something interesting happened. DJI stayed stable, yes, but I could see it working. Every correction was measurable. Every adjustment was slightly visible if you paid attention. But the LUNA Mini, it didn't look like it was working at all. It just stayed composed. Like the chaos around it didn't matter. And that's when the real question hit me. Not which one is better, but how is this even possible at this price point? Because if what I was seeing was accurate, then the definition of budget camera just shifted in real time. And I didn't even realize it yet. But I was already starting to doubt my own benchmarks. Not because DJI got worse, but because something new just stopped behaving like it belonged in the budget category. At this point, I wasn't testing anymore. I was trying to understand what I was actually looking at. Because when two cameras perform this close in real-world conditions, something deeper is usually going on. So I decided to stop doing controlled comparisons. No more clean paths, no more predictable movement, no more fair tests. Now it was time for the real-world test. Crowds, motion, noise, light changes, unexpected interruptions. The kind of environment where even flagship cameras start to lose their confidence. I walked into a busy street area, people crossing in different directions, vehicles passing, uneven ground, reflections bouncing from glass buildings. This is where stabilization systems don't just perform, they get exposed. And I started recording again. First with the DJI Pocket 4. Immediately, you could feel its strength. It handled motion with discipline. Every step I took was absorbed and corrected. Even when people passed close to frame, it stayed composed. But I noticed something subtle again. The more unpredictable the environment became, the more engineered the footage felt. Not bad, not shaky, just slightly processed. Like the camera was constantly reminding you, I am controlling this for you. And that's when I switched to the Insta360 LUNA Mini. Same chaos, same movement, same pressure, but the behavior was different. Not more powerful, more comfortable. It didn't feel like it was fighting the environment. It felt like it was adapting to it. A person suddenly crossed in front of me, no problem. A car passed very close, still stable. I stepped onto uneven ground, no sudden correction spikes. And I started noticing something very important. The LUNA Mini wasn't trying to eliminate motion, it was trying to normalize it. There was no aggressive stabilization feeling, no overcorrection, no robotic smoothing artifacts that usually appear when a system pushes too hard. It was just steady. And the more I used it, the more confusing it became. Because technically, DJI still had better specs, a stronger ecosystem, more processing power, more reputation. But in actual filming conditions, the experience didn't feel better anymore. It felt different in a way I couldn't ignore. So I pushed the test further. I did something I normally avoid in reviews. I stopped thinking like a reviewer and started thinking like a creator. I filmed clips as if I actually needed usable content, not test footage. Walking conversations, quick turns towards subjects, sudden reframing, one-handed shooting while adjusting focus on the fly. And this is where things got interesting. With DJI, I was still aware of the camera. Even when it was performing perfectly, I could feel its presence, its corrections, its structure. But with the Insta360 LUNA Mini, there were moments where I forgot I was even testing a device. That might sound small, but in camera terms, that's huge, because the best camera isn't the one you notice performing well. It's the one you stop noticing at all. And that realization changed the direction of everything I thought I knew, because suddenly this wasn't just a comparison anymore. It was a question of philosophy. DJI felt like precision engineering. Insta360 LUNA Mini felt like natural flow. And I realized something uncomfortable. We've been trained to measure cameras by specs, stabilization ratings, and brand reputation. But real-world usage doesn't care about any of that. It cares about one thing. Does the camera disappear in your hands, or does it remind you it's there? And in this test, one camera was starting to disappear. And that's when I knew I still wasn't done testing. Because if this was true, then the final conclusion wasn't going to be simple at all. It was going to challenge everything people believe about premium versus budget forever. By this point, something had already shifted in my head. I wasn't just testing cameras anymore. I was starting to question the entire way we define good and bad in camera gear. Because when you spend enough time switching between two devices that both look good on paper, but feel completely different in real use, your brain stops trusting specs first. It starts trusting experience. So I did one final test, not a controlled test, not a comparison chart moment. A real world, no retry, if this fails, I lose the shot situation. I went out again, but this time I didn't plan anything. No repeat paths, no staged movement, no second chances. Just raw filming like a normal creator would actually shoot content. I started recording random moments. A walking shot while talking to the camera. Quick pan to capture passing motion. Sudden framing when something interesting appeared. One hand filming while adjusting angle mid-step. And I deliberately stopped thinking about which camera was which. I just used them. First, the DJI Pocket 4. And as expected, it performed like a professional tool. Every shot was stable. Every movement was controlled. Every transition was technically correct. But I noticed something I couldn't ignore anymore. I was thinking about the camera while using it. Not because it was bad, but because it felt like a system I had to respect. A device that required awareness. You don't just use it, you manage it slightly. And then I switched to the Insta360 LUNA Mini. And this is where the experience changed in a way I didn't expect. Because for the first time in the entire test, I wasn't thinking about stabilization at all. I was just filming, talking, moving, capturing, and the camera was simply following life. Not overcorrecting it, not polishing it into something artificial, not reminding me it was working in the background, just staying out of the way. And I know that sounds like a small difference, but in real shooting conditions, that difference is everything. Because creators don't want to think about stabilization curves versus motion algorithms or correction levels. They want to focus on timing, framing, and story. And the LUNA Mini kept letting me do that without interruption. Then something happened that I didn't plan for. I reviewed both clips side by side. Same environment, same movement, same subject. And technically, DJI still looked perfect. Cleaner transitions, slightly more controlled motion, more predictable stability. But when I watched the Insta360 footage, I didn't think about perfection. I thought about usability. It felt more alive, more natural, more like something I could actually post without overthinking it. And that's when the uncomfortable realization hit me again. Not every better camera is actually better for creating content. Some are better at producing perfect footage. Others are better at disappearing into your workflow. And that second category is the one most people underestimate, because perfection is easy to measure, but effortlessness is not. And I started asking myself a question I wasn't ready for. If a cheaper camera makes me shoot more freely and a premium camera makes me think more while shooting, then which one is actually improving my content? That question's stayed in my head longer than the test itself, because it doesn't have a clean answer. And that's exactly what makes it dangerous for the industry. At this point, I wasn't even trying to find a winner anymore. I was trying to understand why two cameras, both capable of producing excellent footage, could feel so completely different in the hands of a creator. And that's when I realized the real battle was never about stabilization, resolution, or specs. It was about friction, how much the camera gets in your way versus how much it lets you create without overthinking. And for the first time in a long time, I stopped judging footage and started judging the experience of making it. But even then, I still didn't have my final answer, because there was one last thing I needed to do before I could honestly say anything about these two cameras. And that final test changed everything again. There's always a moment in every review where you stop testing gear and start confronting your own bias. For me, that moment came at the end of this entire comparison. I had already walked the streets. I had already pushed both cameras through controlled tests. I had already filmed in chaos, crowds, movement, and unpredictable conditions. And on paper, I should have had my answer, but I didn't. Because something about this comparison refused to fit into a simple winner versus loser conclusion. So I decided to do one last thing, not a test for the cameras, but a test for myself. I asked a simple question. If I had to shoot an entire reel project today, without retakes, without second chances, without thinking too much, which camera would I actually pick? Not which one looks better in specs, not which one is more powerful, not which one is more respected, but which one would I trust when I'm under pressure? So I set up the final scenario. One last walk, one last continuous shoot, no stopping, no switching midway, no reviewing clips until the end, just pure, uninterrupted creation. First, I used the DJI Pocket 4 again, and immediately I felt that familiar confidence. It's strange how some tools make you feel safe instantly. The DJI Pocket 4 gives you that feeling. Every step I took felt controlled. Every movement felt managed. Every frame felt like it was being engineered in real time to remove imperfection. And it worked. Flawlessly. If someone had watched only this footage, they would think, this is professional. This is polished. This is exactly what a high-end camera should deliver. And they wouldn't be wrong. But while I was shooting, I noticed something happening in my mind. I was thinking in structure. I was thinking in corrections. I was thinking in stabilization behavior, and that's when I realized something subtle but important. The camera wasn't just capturing my movement. It was influencing how I moved. I was slightly adjusting my steps, slightly anticipating stabilization behavior, slightly avoiding extreme motion because I knew how the system would react. It wasn't limiting me, but it was shaping me, and that's something most people never notice. Then I switched to the Insta360 LUNA Mini, and everything changed. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way, but in a quiet, almost invisible way. Because suddenly, I stopped thinking about the camera again. I started moving normally, naturally, without calculation, without anticipation, without that small mental awareness of how will the camera handle this. I just filmed. And this time I pushed it harder than before. Not for comparison, but for honesty. Fast walking, sudden stops, turning without warning, raising and lowering the camera mid-motion, shooting while distracted, shooting while not caring about perfection at all. The kind of behavior that usually exposes weakness instantly. But something unexpected happened. The footage didn't fall apart. It didn't break. It didn't feel like it was struggling. It just stayed usable. Not perfect, but usable in a way that felt strangely liberating. And I think that's the word I'd been looking for this entire time. Liberating. Because DJI gave me precision, but Insta360 LUNA Mini gave me freedom. And those two things don't always coexist. Then I did something I hadn't done in the entire test. I stopped filming, I sat down, and I watched both recordings side by side from start to finish. No skipping, no fast forwarding, no analysis mindset, just watching like an audience. And that's when the truth started to reveal itself. The DJI footage looked flawless. It looked like something from a controlled production environment. Clean, sharp, stable, predictable. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. But I felt like I was watching a performance. Everything was slightly optimized, slightly polished, slightly engineered. Then I watched the Insta360 LUNA Mini footage, and it didn't feel like a performance. It felt like documentation. Like real moments captured without interference. Not perfect edges, but real movement. Not engineered transitions, but natural flow. Not controlled stability, but lived experience. And that's when the uncomfortable realization finally landed. I had spent the entire test looking for technical superiority, when the real difference was something else entirely. It wasn't about which camera was better. It was about what kind of creator experience each one produced. DJI Pocket 4 is a precision tool. It gives you control, structure, and cinematic consistency. It makes sure your footage looks professional no matter what. But the Insta360 LUNA Mini felt different. It didn't try to correct reality. It tried to preserve it. And depending on who you are as a creator, that difference changes everything. Because if you are someone who wants full control over every frame, every motion, every detail, DJI is exactly what you want. But if you are someone who wants to move freely, shoot faster, think less about the tool, and focus more on the moment, then something like the LUNA Mini becomes dangerously attractive. Not because it replaces DJI, but because it removes friction. And friction is something creators don't talk about enough. How many times have you missed a moment because your gear made you think too much? How many times have you slowed down creativity because you were managing stabilization, angles, settings, or behavior? That's the hidden cost nobody calculates. And this is where everything became clear for me. The question was never, which camera is better? The real question was, what kind of creator do you want to be? Do you want precision or flow? Control or freedom? Engineering or experience? And once you understand that distinction, the comparison stops being confusing. Because both cameras win, just in different worlds. Then I realized something even more important. The industry doesn't just sell cameras. It sells philosophies of creation. Some tools are built for perfection. Others are built for momentum. And the moment you choose one, you are also choosing how you work, how you think, and how you create content moving forward. So after all the tests, all the comparisons, all the moments of confusion, I finally had my answer. Not a technical answer, but a human one. And that's the part most reviews never tell you. Because in the end, I didn't walk away thinking one camera destroyed the other. I walked away realizing something much bigger. The best camera is not the one that gives you the best footage. It's the one that lets you forget it exists while you create. And depending on who you are, that might change everything. After all the testing, after all the comparisons, after all the moments of confusion, I did something very simple. I turned both cameras off. And I just stood there for a second. Because when you remove the recording, the specs, the comparison mindset, something interesting happens. You start remembering why you started filming in the first place. It was never about stabilization, never about bite rates, never about brand names or price tags. It was about capturing moments that feel real. And that's when everything I just tested started to make sense in a different way. The DJI Pocket 4 didn't feel like a machine. It felt like a professional system built to guarantee perfection. Something you can trust when nothing is allowed to go wrong. And there's real value in that, because in many situations, weddings, travel films, commercial work, perfect matters more than natural. But then I thought about the Insta360 LUNA Mini again, and it didn't feel like a competitor. It felt like a different mindset entirely. Not a replacement, not an upgrade, but an alternative way of thinking about creation. Because while DJI tries to eliminate imperfection, the LUNA Mini seemed to accept movement as it is. And that difference is subtle, until you actually feel it in your hands. One makes you careful. The other makes you fast. One makes you plan shots. The other makes you capture them instinctively. And I realized something most people miss in camera reviews. The real battle is not happening inside the hardware. It's happening inside the creator. Because the moment you pick a camera, you are also choosing how you will shoot your life. Slow and controlled, or fast and fluid. Perfect and structured, or raw and spontaneous. And neither of those is wrong. But they are not the same. So after everything, after the streets, the tests, the comparisons, the side-by-side footage, I stopped asking which one is better and started asking something more honest. Which one fits how I actually want to create? And that question doesn't have a universal answer. It only has a personal one, because someone watching this might value DJI's precision, and someone else might value Insta360's freedom. But what matters most is understanding this. The best camera doesn't change your content. It changes your behavior while creating it. And that is the part nobody talks about enough. So if you take anything from this entire review, take this. Don't just buy a camera for specs. Buy it for how it makes you shoot. Because in the end, the footage you create will always reflect the mindset of the tool in your hands. And maybe that's the real truth behind all of this. Not which camera wins, but which version of you shows up when you start recording. By the time everything was done, there was nothing left to test. No more walking shots. No more side-by-side comparisons. No more trying to prove anything between DJI Pocket 4 and the Insta360 LUNA Mini. Just silence. And a camera in my hand that suddenly didn't feel like a device anymore. It felt like a choice, and that's when it hit me. Most people think camera reviews are about winning and losing, but they're not. They're about alignment. Because a camera doesn't just record what you see, it influences how you see. And after spending all this time switching between DJI and Insta360, I realized something uncomfortable but honest. Both cameras were excellent, but they were excellent in completely different directions. DJI Pocket 4 felt like discipline. It rewarded structure, it rewarded planning, it rewarded control. Every shot felt intentional, like it belonged in a film where nothing is accidental. It is the kind of tool that makes you feel like a cinematographer. But the Insta360 LUNA Mini felt like instinct. It didn't ask for control. It didn't demand precision. It just followed movement without interrupting it. Like it was designed for moments you don't get twice. And that's where the real difference lived. Not in specs, not in stabilization numbers, not in marketing claims, but in how much mental space the camera takes away from you while creating. Because I noticed something important during all this testing. With DJI, I was always slightly aware of the camera. With Insta360, I was aware of the moment instead. And that is a difference most people don't measure, but feel instantly when they shoot. So in the end, I stopped looking at this as a comparison and started seeing it as two philosophies. One is built for perfection, the other is built for presence. One gives you control over everything, the other gives you freedom inside everything. And neither is objectively wrong. But they lead to completely different kinds of creators. And that's the part I didn't expect when I started this review. Because I thought I was testing cameras, but I ended up testing how I work as a creator. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. Not which camera is sharper, not which one stabilizes better, not which one wins in a head-to-head comparison, but which one lets you become the version of yourself that creates more freely. Because at the end of the day, gear doesn't define content, but it absolutely defines friction. And friction is what decides whether you capture a moment or miss it. So if you're watching this, trying to decide between the DJI Pocket 4 and the Insta360 LUNA Mini, don't ask which one is better. Ask which kind of shooting experience you want to live inside. Because once you choose that, the answer becomes obvious. And with that, the comparison ends. Not because one camera won, but because I finally understood something more important than winning. The best camera is not the one you notice. It's the one you forget while creating your best moments. And maybe that's the only real metric that matters. So after everything, the walking, the testing, the comparisons, the confusion, there's only one thing I want to leave you with. It was never about DJI Pocket 4. It was never about Insta360 LUNA Mini. It was never about specs, price, or who wins a technical battle. It was about something much more personal. How you create when nobody is watching. Because in real life, moments don't wait for perfect settings. They don't pause for stabilization tests. They don't care about brand comparisons. They happen once and they disappear. And the only thing standing between you and that moment is the tool in your hand and how quickly it lets you respond. That's why this comparison mattered. Not because one camera is better, but because each one changes how you behave while filming. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. So if you're still trying to decide what to buy, don't just think like a reviewer. Think like a creator. Think about how much freedom you want in your hands. Think about how much control you actually need. Think about how you want your content to feel, not just how it should look. Because at the end of the day, the best camera is the one that disappears, so your story can finally show up. If you found value in this, subscribe, not for the gear, but for the next time we break down what really matters behind the tech. And I'll see you in the next one.